Hey guys, it's Jessica, your friendly neighborhood editor, here with just a quick little insert before the actual video starts. I just wanted to tell you that this is a very long video. We tried to be as short and concise as we could with each of our favorite movies, but as we each have 10 videos, that time kind of got away from us. So if you click on this video, you sit back, relax, get a cup of tea, get a cup of coffee, get some popcorn, because it is going to be a long one, but we hope you enjoy nonetheless.
Yay!
It's working.
Hi, it's Jessica.
And Cody.
We are reunited once again. Yay! Do 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 do. This is nice. This is actually not a movie review. We just kind of wanted to hang out. And we decided to make a video about our 10 favorite movies. Mine aren't particularly from any year, but they tend to have a similar theme, and he knows me well enough that I think you know what the theme is going to be.
I have a good idea.
And yours is just kind of
all over the place.
Okay.
Just like me.
Yes.
My list is kind of a mixture of different years, genres, types of movies.
So do you want to go first? And then we're going to go 10, 10, 9, 9, etc.
Yeah. I do have one honorable mention, I guess, just to, I couldn't justify putting it on the list, plus it was a lot easier to leave it off just because then I didn't have to narrow it down even more because it was
it Marley
so hard.
and Me?
It's not Marley and Me, although that one was really good. Honorable mention for me is actually the film Zootopia.
Oh, I was thinking that too. I was like, but I didn't want to guess. Okay.
It's such a great movie. I only saw it though a couple weeks ago. I've seen it I think twice because I was sick when we watched it, and then I was sick the next day and I was like, I want to watch it again, and my wife was like, okay.
Oh yeah, by the way, he's married. Insert adorable picture here.
Aren't we cute? She's cute. I'm kind of okay. Anyway, that's my honorable mention. The reason why I couldn't put it on was, like I said, I haven't watched it enough for it to really solidify as my favorite. Although it's definitely, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up on there. I still really much love it, but I like to let movies kind of sit and I like to think on them. Because I always have I either really love a movie or I'm really okay with a movie. There's really not in the middle with me.
I'm the same, honestly.
So that's why I kind of have to let movies sit before I can do the thing. That's probably why with most of our movie reviews that you've seen, it's always been like, it's great, or eh.
Yeah. Alright, so I guess I'm doing my 10 then.
Yeah.
So number 10 for me is Love, Simon. I'm actually this movie is a little bittersweet for me because I really wanted to see this with him in theaters. And our schedules just were not able to mesh, so I ended up seeing it with my other best friend. It was fine. It is one of my all-time favorite movies ever. It's a beautiful, beautiful movie about a gay teenager that does not end in sadness and heartbreak, and it's so cute.
Hannah, you mean he doesn't explode?
No.
It doesn't
cute.
follow the media norms then. I'm disappointed.
No, and the general plot, I've seen the same plot before, but this one was just done so well, and the teenagers actually sounded like teenagers. The standout character for me had to be, of course, Simon. I just related to him on so many levels. He's just an adorable little baby, and I love him. Yeah, 10 out of 10.
Seems like I've heard good things about it. I haven't seen it, but
that's our next movie night, does that. Alright, and 10 for number you?
Yeah. Number 10 for me is La La Land. I love this movie. It's a musical that's set in the modern day, but it feels like an old school musical. And it's kind of a love letter to those movies. I grew up with a lot of those. I haven't rewatched a lot of them in a long time though, but this movie really harkened back to that style of musical. I also loved the music. One of the great things about this musical in particular that I really loved was musicals now, they're a lot more, I guess, kind of big and bombastic and huge, and La La Land definitely has moments like that, but most of the music in La La Land actually fit perfectly with the story, and it just fits so perfect, and a lot of the music is a lot more subtle and a lot more meaningful than a lot of the musicals, at least that I've seen recently.
And the actors sang it themselves, didn't they?
Yeah.
I feel like I heard that.
They put a lot of effort into this one. The heart is there. It's a great love story. But one of the things I love about it the most is probably the message. Really, what do you want out of life? Is kind of what I got out of the ending, where you kind of question what is success, what's the price of success. Because without kind of giving too much away, the characters end up getting what they want, but at the same time not getting what they want. And I kind of liked that ending because it was a lot more heartfelt, realistic. It was a lot, it hit me right at the core, the heartstrings.
Oh.
And I just love this movie. Great movie, great acting, great songs, great dancing numbers.
Okay, we get it.
It's awesome.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, that's it.
Oh yeah, by the way, this is gonna be a long video. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, just didn't have time. My number 9, I hope you know why, is Legally Blonde, the movie / the musical, because I love both of them equally. I am very, very, very obsessed with the musical Legally Blonde. But since it's not technically a movie, I'm also saying the movie. I was really little when I first saw this movie, like 9 or 10. And the message was so powerful and important, and it still rings true today. You know, oh, just because you're blonde doesn't mean you can't be smart. I mean, she got into Harvard. That is not an easy feat, and I hate when people kind of try to discredit her for not being smart. It's just like, she got into a law school.
Pretty impressive.
The musical itself also has some really great musical numbers. One of my all-time favorites from the musical is Chip on Your Shoulder, where Elle and Warren, I think his name is, sing, and it's just so good. So good. The chemistry is perfect. The characters have really strong ties to each other, and it feels believable when they end up together at the end of the movie and the musical. They both work really well. And yeah, I can watch this over and over again. A stippler for me is for me to really love a movie, I have to watch it more than once and not skip to scenes I like. And Legally Blonde consistently is one where I can watch it over and over and not skip to scenes. And I love it.
That's awesome. My number 9 is Tangled. I love this movie. I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for saying this, but out of all like the Disney princess movies, this one's actually by far my favorite. Oh, there you go. My favorite Disney princess movie.
Wait, do we need the lights on? I can't tell.
Let's see. Nah.
We're good for a bit.
Yeah, we're good for now at least.
Sorry.
But it's my favorite Disney princess movie. It's funny, it's heartfelt, it's super rewatchable, super quotable, super fun. And it also helps that the love song in Tangled is also me and my wife's song. So definitely had to put this on the list, I know. But I just love this movie. It is awesome and a lot of fun.
I love it a lot. I like it a lot too. My number 8, you're gonna start to see a theme here, is A Cinderella Story. The original with Hilary Duff. I do like the remakes, but that is my go-to. I really, really, really love Hilary Duff, and I also really, 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 really love Chad Michael Murray, who is also in that movie, by the way. And Cinderella was one of my all-time favorite stories as a kid. Although I'm a stickler for the Grimm fairy tale versions, not the Disney ones, even though it's cute. He knows this. I always went for the gorier version, but I love the story and the message in this movie a lot. So I was like, okay, I can push aside my love of the macabre for this movie. Their chemistry is perfect, absolutely perfect. I completely believe that they're falling in love. I love and adore the stepsisters. Whoops. Because they are just so dumb at times that you can't be like, well, they're just pure evil, but just like, but look at them. They're so silly. You can't help but like them. And yeah, all the actors, their chemistry just worked really well together, and the story was really nice. It was a modern take on Cinderella for the time. It's a little outdated now, but you know what? I can still watch it, so.
Still a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
I love this movie too. I agree with everything she said. My number 8 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the 1980s, the live action movie. I've grown up with the Turtles. The Turtles have always been something that I've watched and loved watching. And so this movie just nails it. It's a little darker than you expect, which for me as a kid really got to me. And it still affects me now. And the action is awesome. The fight scenes are great. And the turtles are just perfectly captured. And do I even need to mention like the animatronics and the suits? I've never, ever believed that the turtles were actually there more than this movie, because they did such an amazing job. There's so much love and care put into this movie. It's just a love letter to the Turtles fans, and I just had to include it. I can watch it over and over, and cowabunga.
My number 7 is Spider-Man Homecoming. He knows this. I am not a fan of the original Spider-Man. I mean, I'll watch them, but they're just not my favorite movies.
Yeah.
And he knows this. I really, really, really fell in love with Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I thought he fit who I thought Spider-Man would be perfectly. So when I found out that Tom Holland was going to be the new Spider-Man, I was, how should I put this delicately? I was very upset. He could confirm I was very upset.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I went into this movie initially not wanting to like it. I feel bad now. I went in with really low expectations, not expecting to enjoy as much as the Amazing Spider-Mans, and I left the theater. He won me over. He was just so sweet and kind, and as much as I love Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland is just closer in age, and he felt like a real-life teenage Peter Parker, and it felt like he was really in high school, where Andrew Garfield looked like a college student. As much as I hate to say that.
It's true.
And the stuff that Peter went through at times in this movie was really intense, and it really showed how dedicated Tom Holland was to not only acting as Spider-Man. I genuinely, for a few seconds, forgot I was watching a movie and thought I was really there. That is how good the movie and his acting won me over into believing he was Spider-Man. The end of the movie, I kind of went out of it and I was really crying. I was just like, oh, it's so good. He won me over, and he was even better in Infinity War, and just, he's my baby and I love him. And he has beaten Andrew Garfield for the #1 Spider-Man, but you know what? Andrew Garfield is a close #2, so is there really a loser?
Not really. They all, honestly, they all did pretty amazing, all the actors.
Mm-hmm.
They all got different things that you could like out of their performances. But anyway, my number 7 is Rocky.
Yes.
I love this movie. I think one of the reasons I love it is, while it is a sports movie, it's more of a drama.
It really is.
And a love story. It's so simple. I don't think the humble nature of this movie can ever be really recaptured. I do have to say I've loved and enjoyed pretty much all of the sequels that have come afterward, but none of them have ever come close to the original. There's so much heart, there's so much realness to Rocky's character. Sylvester Stallone was in a very similar situation as Rocky when he was making the movie, so I feel like he kind of brought that into the movie, and it helped the movie all the more. The love story is beautiful. This is probably one of my favorite love stories in a movie, because you have this female who's, very shy. A lot of people don't see the beauty that she actually has, and Rocky can very clearly see it, and he wants to pursue that. And that's honestly one of the big reasons I think Rocky succeeds, is the guy who plays Adrian's brother, Paulie, actually the actor always says that Rocky, while it is a sports movie, said it's actually a love story, and I agree. That's the reason Rocky outshines pretty much any sports movie, and I can watch it over and over, and just captures my heart. And whenever Rocky goes the distance at the end, you just can't help but want to go, yes.
Yes.
And I love the message as well, just that you don't necessarily have to win to go the distance, but you have to do what others haven't done before. And I thought that was a very unique message.
Oh yeah, Rocky is a favorite of mine too. My number 6, this may be a little controversial.
Dun dun dun.
Dirty Dancing Havana Nights. I like the Dirty Dancing sequel more than the original. I know, people never believe me when I say this, but I genuinely enjoy Dirty Dancing Havana Nights more. I feel like that while the story is very similar, it's also completely different. A girl is moving to Cuba with her family for a job, and it's not just for the summer, it's for an entire school year. So while the original Dirty Dancing, I believe, was only like for a couple of weeks, it was like a really short amount of time. This one was for a couple of months, and you know, she's moving to this new country. You know, she doesn't really speak the language. She is an outsider in her school. They very, very early on show that she is very smart and very well read, and she knows what she's talking about. And some of her classmates don't like that. And she meets this waiter, and they have this instant connection. And long story short, he ends up losing his job, and to help him, they decide to enter this dancing contest to win the money. And their relationship as it grows is just so beautiful, and the end of this movie is really, really heartbreaking. I cry almost every other time I see this movie. I'm like tearing up right now because it hits me that bad. Because I genuinely believe that they were a couple and they were in love. And it has a young Diego, I can't say his last name, I'm sorry, Diego, but it has a young Diego in it, and I think this is one of his first acting jobs. And so it's just so really amazing to see them act and work together. And while Dirty Dancing, the original, is good, I just liked the connection these two had more, and I can watch it over and over again. And I've really only seen Dirty Dancing 2 or 3 times, and the more I see of it, the more I don't really like it. So, hate me if you want, but my number 6 is Dirty Dancing Havana Nights.
My number 6 is Guardians of the Galaxy. This one's probably my favorite, like, Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. Jessica knows this. I like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've kind of lost my deep love for it just because there's so many movies now. But it makes it a little hard for me to be as invested. But Guardians of the Galaxy is the one series that can still pull me in. If the Guardians are in it, I'm like all in. I love them to death. They're so relatable. They're so likable. I kind of like how these characters all are very flawed. They all have these different flaws, these troubled backgrounds, these things they've went through. But I also love how much fun, really, the movie is. The world is awesome. The action is creative. The characters are memorable. The comedy's hilarious. And as a movie as a whole, it's just super rewatchable and super easy to pop in and enjoy. And so I just can't help but love Guardians of the Galaxy. One of the most fun movies for me to watch. And honestly, I don't think Marvel has topped it since, in my humble opinion.
It's really good. Alright. My number 5. This is kind of a standout in my favorite list. Bring It On, All or Nothing. It is in the film series Bring It On, which is about cheerleaders. And I don't know, just for some reason, I've always really, really loved this movie. It's an underdog story. This really rich cheerleader is living a perfect life, basically, and she has to move to the wrong side of the tracks because her father loses his job, I believe. I'm a little fuzzy on that detail. And she is, of course, really upset. She's like, I will never be a cheerleader again, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, she goes to this new school. It's a lot rougher than what she's used to, and she does not like it. And she ends up meeting this really cute guy. maybe one of the reasons I like this movie so much, who's a cheerleader, and he's like, oh, why aren't you cheerleading anymore? She's like, well, I can't, like, and you can see how much better this new team is, and she grows to care about them, but she's still trying to hold on to her old life, and you can tell that it's not working. You know, she's falling in love with this new guy, but she has her old boyfriend, and it's just, and it all comes to head in this really, really, really amazing cheerleading dance battle. It's my favorite dance battle ever. And they end up winning. Oh yeah, and Rihanna's in this movie.
Oh my.
So you know. You know.
Happens.
Yeah, and the girl and the guy end up together, and it's just, oh, it's so good. It's really early 2000s, and you can definitely tell. But the story, to me, the inner story behind all the fluff and the gymnastics and the dancing is really strong, and I can watch it over and over and enjoy it and wish I could cheerlead but really can't, so, you know, sadness.
Number 5 for me, I'm kind of going back to Spider-Man, is Spider-Man 2 from Sam Raimi. As she said, she's not a huge fan of these movies. I'm kind of the opposite. I've loved them. They're really the movies that introduced me to Spider-Man, so they'll always kind of have, for me, I don't really know if they'll ever be beat out. Maybe if I see Spider-Man Homecoming, maybe that'll change my mind. I don't know. But I've loved all the Spider-Man series, but Spider-Man 2, whenever I think of a superhero movie, this is still the one that I think of. So many iconic scenes and moments, an awesome villain in Dr. Octopus, and lots of inner turmoil and struggle. I really loved how this movie, it didn't really tell you how hard being a superhero was. It just kind of showed you a lot of Peter's life as a young adult, trying to live on his own, trying to survive, trying to go to college at the same time while trying to be Spider-Man and live up to his responsibilities. And just the back and forth with him emotionally and internally, and all these things he has to deal with along with being a superhero. And honestly, to me, the action scenes in this one haven't really been beat out by any of the Spider-Man movies I've seen. Again, I've heard Homecoming has amazing scenes, so again, that might beat it out at some point. But for me, just the train sequence is awesome. The final battle is amazing. How complex the villain is. This movie is just iconic, and I feel like it will be remembered many, many years from now. And it's my favorite Spider-Man movie, and it has been for a long time. And so I've got to put it as number 5.
My number 4 is The Greatest Showman. This is like another musical. Can you see a theme here? Like, all of these have like very similar plots and music. Yeah. So I'm obsessed with musicals, and when I first saw this movie, I wasn't sure how to feel about it, because the character this is based on had a really not so great history. The real P.T. Barnum was a horrible person. So the first time I saw it, I was just kind of like, ooh, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this. And then the very first, like, opening second of that song where Hugh Jackman started singing, I was just like, okay, let's see what you can do with this. And the overall movie, I love it. The choreography, so good. So good. Several times I felt like I was watching a Broadway performance as a movie, because the choreography and the music and the dancing and everything was just so well done. The characters, P.T. Barnum, while you dislike him sometimes in the movie, they definitely humanized him and made him really likable, which I was like, okay, like, when the movie ended, I was just like, okay, I didn't hate anybody in this movie. This is a good job. Thank you for making me ignore the truth for your movie. And of course, it has Zendaya and Zac Efron in it, and I am in love with both of them. So rewrite the stars. So they had the circus plotline, and they had the forbidden love of these two. But I definitely can listen to the music in this over and over again. The movie is I have to be in the right mood to watch the movie again, but the music, definitely. I love it.
I've seen it. It's a lot of fun. Really fun movie, I gotta agree. My number 4 is by the man Jim Henson himself, and it is his fantasy film, The Dark Crystal. I love Jim Henson. He just did so much good. You know, he made The Muppets, he made Sesame Street, he made Labyrinth, he made The Dark Crystal, he made the Fraggles from Fraggle Rock. You know, he just made all these characters in these worlds. And for me, the most cool one was probably The Dark Crystal. It was so dark, so epic, and just edge of your seat entertaining. It's definitely my favorite fantasy film, and nothing has beat it out. It's creepy in parts, it's exciting in parts, it's heartfelt in parts, and it's just, the world is beautiful. Even if you didn't have a story or a plot, you could watch it on mute and still be entertained because of all the creativity that went into the world and into the design and all the little details.
Yeah.
You always see something new when you watch it. I just love this movie. I grew up on it, and it will always be a classic for me. And for me, out of fantasy films, you can't beat it, in my humble opinion. And I love it to death. If you haven't seen it, please do. In my opinion, it is one of the best things that Jim Henson ever created. And I'm glad that he took kind of a risk, and he went out and he tried something that wasn't necessarily safe for him. And it's definitely paid off, and I'm a huge fan. And I am really excited for anything that they will or can do with The Dark Crystal in the future.
Okay, this is actually kind of ironic that is your number 4, because my number 3 is Labyrinth.
Haha! Dance, magic, dance.
Kind of on the same vein as The Dark Crystal for you, The Labyrinth was my Dark Crystal. I probably watched this a little too young to fully get some of the jokes in this movie, but it has always been my favorite. I think I was like 7 or 8 when I first saw this movie, and I fell in love with it. The story itself is just, it's so good, and you know, it has David Bowie singing, and he knows this. This is like one of my all-time favorite movies for a reason. I can watch it over and over and over again. Sometimes the CGI, especially in the opening credits, does not hold up.
It's beautiful. That owl's so realistic.
So real. I thought I was just gonna claw my eyes out.
Oh yeah.
David Bowie was really, really good in this role. I don't know if he acted a whole lot, but I've seen some of his other works, and I didn't really love them, but I really love him in this. His chemistry with Sarah, who is I want to say it's a young Jennifer Coulson, something
I
or
don't
other.
remember.
I know her face. They just played really well off each other, and you know, the overall story, Goblin King, you know, Sarah, she's kind of spoiled. She wishes away her baby brother. Surprise! The story is actually real. So now she has to save her baby brother, and she kind of grows and becomes an adult along the way. There are a lot of deeper meanings to this movie than just, oh yeah, a baby was taken. She's becoming an adult, and she's realizing that she has to put away her girlish toys and knickknacks and become an adult. And Hoggle and all of her friends from the Labyrinth are just so good, and they really hold up now. You know, this movie is almost 30 years old, I think.
Yeah,
it's getting up there in age, and a lot of it really, really holds up, and I can definitely watch it over and over again. And of course, you know, Dance Magic Dance, man, you know, it's David Bowie. What's not to like?
I definitely agree. I love Labyrinth as well. It actually came pretty close to making my list, so it's a good movie. It's a lot of fun. Didn't quite make it for me, but it's still awesome. I pretty much agree with everything she said. Number 3 for me is my favorite Pixar movie, and that is the film Inside Out.
Yes.
I love this movie. This movie is emotional, it's super creative, and it is just so well thought out. For me, I've always loved this movie because it really helps you to understand
human emotions.
I love the message, especially to kids, that hey, sadness isn't like a bad thing. It's actually essential for your happiness. I thought that was a super mature message, and I thought it was handled beautifully. The scene where joy and sadness kind of work together at the end of the movie, I don't cry, okay? I totally cry every time. But it's an emotional movie, but it's so heartfelt and so memorable. I don't know if Pixar will ever outdo this one for me.
I don't think so, honestly.
It's just perfect. I don't know what else to say. It's just love this movie.
All I'm gonna say on this movie is girl, 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 girl. Favorite part of the entire movie.
That is great. If you ever watch the short film like Riley's First Date, that one's pretty funny too, what they do with that.
My number 2 is Star Wars Rogue One. This movie has a lot of, you either like it or you love it or you hate it. There's
3 camps.
Yeah, there's 3 camps. I know people that like it. I know people that love it. I'm one of the people that love it. It is different for Star Wars. It is a war movie, and it feels like a war movie, where the original trilogy, yeah, war was in it, but it also was really clean.
Here's the laser sword.
Yes, but their clothes were always really clean, except for a few scenes early on with Luke at Tatooine. They all had, like, you know, Leia's white clothes, like, never got any dirt on them ever, and her hair was perfect. And yes, they were fighting, but it almost didn't feel like a fight. It felt like a dance. And yeah, there was a bad guy, but bad guy, oh no. You know, I mean, I love the movies, don't get me wrong, I really do. But this felt like a war movie because it's dirty. Like, it almost felt like the screen was dirty a few times when you were watching it, because their clothes got dirt, they got dirt on their faces, their hair didn't stay, like, neat and perfect all the time, and they were fighting in a real life war, and you felt like you were watching them go off to battle. And the ending of this movie is heartbreaking for me for so many reasons. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it now, none of them make it.
Dun dun dun!
They all die. And I love watching this movie before watching the first original Star Wars movie, because it is a prequel, because it is showing how they got those battle plans. And it's really sad because this is a story that, you know, obviously it wasn't in the original movies, but you kind of want it to be, because you grow to love these characters and you see how strong they are and they have a real connection. And the 2 main characters, you genuinely want them to be together, and you want them to be a couple, and you want them to be happy. But from the beginning, you kind of get a feeling this is not what's going to happen. And about halfway through, you get that sinking feeling that, okay, this is like most probably not gonna happen. And then the last 5 minutes, you're like crying. You're like, this is not gonna happen. So sad. And it has Diego in it from Dirty Dancing Havana Nights. He's all grown up.
He has a beard.
He does. He has a beard, and he's an adult, and it's just. But yeah, the chemistry, the fighting was so good. The music, literally everything about this movie I love. That's so good.
Sweet. Well, my number 2, kind of going from a war movie, we go from a war movie to a Christmas movie. And that is The Muppets Christmas Carol.
I mean, they kind of go together.
Kind of, you know. You need something to uplift you after you're heartbroken. Although this movie rips your heart out too. But honestly, there are certain scenes. But The Muppets Christmas Carol, there were so many Muppet movies I love, and so I had to just limit it to one. Just because I really, really needed to kind of narrow it down. And so for me, I had to go with my absolute favorite, which is still The Muppets Christmas Carol. It's classic, but it also takes a new spin on the tale, and there's great music. It makes you just feel so happy.
And then sad.
And then sad, and then happy again. I mean, this is just one of the easiest movies to watch. Whenever I need to feel better, I always watch it, no matter what time of year it is. I've probably watched it a million times. It has that classic Muppet charm to the story, which I think fits perfectly with the Christmas Carol.
Does.
And it's just so memorable and so sweet, and you just feel so good when you're watching it. So for me, it almost was my number one, but it didn't quite get there. But make it like it's so close. I just love this. It just...
Alright, drum roll please. And I feel like he already knows this, but my number one favorite movie is... Are you gonna say it?
Wait, what?
It's Hairspray.
Okay, I thought so.
I was waiting for you to say it because I'm like, you should know this. No, it's Hairspray. One of my all-time favorite musicals ever. Literally ever. I've probably seen the Hairspray movie with Zac Efron at least 100 times. Probably closer to 200, because I can literally watch this for a week straight, all the way through from beginning to end, and enjoy it. The music is just so good. The characters are hilarious. Zac Efron, come on. I love this story. It takes place in the 60s. You know, and there's a general plot about, oh, you know, a girl, she wants to be on this really fun TV show, and she's a little bit bigger, and her mother's like, no, don't do it. The world will not support you. They will laugh at you. And there is another side story about segregation and the civil rights movement. And you would not think that these two would go together, and yet they do. In a wonderful musical number, no less.
There's a light in the darkness.
So good. So good. All of the characters are hilarious. Zac Efron is for sure a standout for me. Not only because he is amazing and so cute, but he can sing. And his growth and development from when you first see him to the last, seconds of the movie is... It's so nice to watch, because you can tell that he and Tracy, or Link and Tracy, really like each other. And a lot of the characters grow, except for the villains, for obvious reasons, because they're villains and, But,
they get their comeuppance.
They do, and it is hilarious. And you're just like, oh, so good, I love it so much. 10 out of 10, 2 thumbs up. A million gajillion points. It's my favorite.
Hairspray is awesome. I agree pretty much with everything she said. It's just amazing, amazing movie. My number one is Star Wars. So just to kind of clarify what I mean by Star Wars, because obviously there's a lot of movies in the universe, I'm gonna go with pretty much all of them except for the prequels. I'm not hating against the prequels. The prequels have a lot of good things in them, but they're not personally my favorite. I probably watched them the least out of the Star Wars movies, which is why they're not on here. I love the franchise as a whole, from the original trilogy to the new trilogy they're making to Rogue One. Just all of them are amazing stories, epic in scale. There's heart, there's sacrifice, there's inner conflict between not only the heroes but also the villains, and there's so much complexity, and there's so much variety in the world, and the world's so big and vast and creative, and I love it. If I had to pick a favorite Star Wars movie, I'd have to go with Return of the Jedi. Love that one. Just a classic story of redemption. Luke is just awesome in this movie. It's probably part of the reason it's my favorite. You get to see Luke kind of at his full potential, and he's really powerful, and he's really skilled at, his battling, not only with lightsabers, but with the Force. And you see the faith that he has in his father, even though his father is the Darth Vader, the most evil villain ever. And it's just... I just love Star Wars. It's something I can watch, and I am so excited to see how they expand the world and the universe even more. just anything Star Wars, I'm totally down for. I love the action, I love the romance, I love the different plot lines, the characters, the different directions that the stories go that you just don't see coming no matter what movie you're watching. And it's just amazing. This franchise has affected me throughout my whole life. It's always kind of been my favorite, but I've never been able to pinpoint it until now, I guess. And I just, you just can't go wrong. Star Wars, if you haven't seen it, what are you doing? Watch it. It's amazing. I love it. It's my absolute favorite, and you can't go wrong.
As one of my favorite TV characters says, from How I Met Your Mother, the only people who haven't seen Star Wars are the characters in Star Wars because they lived it. I feel like we have very similar tastes, and honestly, if we swapped lists, I feel like we could watch every single one of our top 10s and not be disappointed.
That's true. That's true. Well, I'm actually curious to if any of you, that was a nice stutter, if any of you want to share what your favorite movies are, and you don't even have to limit it to 10, go as crazy as you want, let us know. We'd love to hear about it.
Yes. And if you haven't, for some reason, seen any of the movies that we have listed, go watch them.
They're pretty great.
I'll put trailers for the ones that I can find down below so you can watch those. So yeah, I am Jessica.
And I am Cody.
And we will see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.